Welcome to Agriculture Vidya. Today I will explain about Economic Survey 2020-21. Economic Survey generally presented by Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs. It is generally presented by Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs. That is by Nirmala Sitharaman. It is prepared by Ministry of Finance and the Department of Economic Affairs under Economic Division. Economic survey generally First economic survey is released during 1950 along with budget. Up to 1964 it is released along with budget. After 1964 it is delinked from budget and generally or usually released one day before the budget. In this economic survey major points are included: V-shaped recovery and dedicated to COVID warriors. What is V-shaped recovery? V-shaped recovery. This is GDP growth rate at constant prices in percentage. GDP growth rate at constant prices. What is constant prices? Suppose we have taken one biscuit packet 2010 and 11, production is 10 units. Suppose biscuit packet production is 10 units and price is 10 rupees. So we will get 100. Whereas in case of 2020 and 21, production increases to 11 units. That is, price is also increases to 11 rupees. That we will get 121. What is constant prices means? We will take the 2020 years production, that is 11 units, but we will take that is 10 rupees only, base year prices, that is 10 rupees, that is 110. GDP, that is constant prices, that means constant prices. 121 minus 110 means 11 units, that is inflation. GDP growth rate. This is regards to primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. Under primary sector, agriculture is included. This is industry. This is related to service sector. Total together GDP growth rate is like this. Whereas 2017-18, 7% increase is there, and 2018-19, 6.1% is increase is there. For 2019-20, 4.2 increase is there. Suppose 2017-18 is 100, we are taking base year, that increases to 6.1% means 106.1%. Suppose we have taken 18-19 base year, that is 100, that is increases to 4.2% means 104.2. 4.2. Whereas in case of 2021, instead of increasing, GDP is decreases to minus 7.7. Suppose this is 100, this is 100 minus 7.7. 100 minus 7.7 means 92.3. Instead of increasing, GDP growth rate decreases. We are assuming that 11% increase is there. Suppose we will get 7 or 8% also, increment is there. Recovery, recession, followed by recovery. This is called V-shaped curve. Recovery, recession and recovery is there. That is V-shaped recovery. Increment, decrement, again increment. Minus 7.7 relates to 4 quarters. 4 quarters are there. 2 quarters are completed. 2 are going on. This is minus 23.9 something. This is minus 7.7. Total 4 quarters average is minus 7.7. This is the GDP growth rate. This is the V-shaped curve. Dedicated to COVID warriors. COVID warriors means who are recovered from the COVID: doctors, police persons, bank employees, scavengers, or municipality workers. This economic survey is dedicated to COVID warriors. Whereas in this economic survey, main priority given to health sector. Main priority given to health sector. Hansen Sargent. He is the Nobel Prize winner during 2001. He is also main policy is that is his main focused on minimization of the loss. That means priority given to health sector. After that, we have to develop the our economy. COVID affected both demand and supply. COVID affect both demand and supply. Both are decreases. Whereas we have to, there is a need to accelerate this demand and supply. NIP, PLI and Atmanirbhar Bharat Mission, which are useful to accelerate the demand and recovery of the economy. What are the production linked incentives? During the production, incentives are given. Suppose we have to produce sunflower oil or safflower oil, then government gives the incentives for production purpose. Suppose production increases, availability of the goods with the persons increases. That leads to their income and expenditure levels. That leads to increase in demand and supply. The NIP means National Infrastructure Pipeline. NIP means National Infrastructure Pipeline. Whereas government expenditure on buildings, highways, roads, railways, hospitals, bridges, etc. Suppose the government expenditure increases, there is a need of that leads to give employment to many people. That leads to give employment to many people. People got the employment means their standard of living increases. Their availability, they are very much available with money. Their investment increases, their expenditure increases, their income also increases. That leads to increase in demand and supply. Global financial crisis occurred during 2008. After that, COVID during 2019. So we have to follow the main policy policy is focused on minimization of the losses during COVID-19. How we have to minimize the losses. For this purpose, all countries expanded their monetary policy and quantitative easing of money. All countries expanded their monetary policy and quantitative easing of money. Monetary policy expanded. Suppose RBI we have taken, all other countries banks are also expanded their monetary policy. So banks are uh, banks are full of with money. They will, that means repo rates and that is interest rates are decreased. So people availability of money is also increases with the people. People are available with the money. Liquidity is also increases. That is a good sign. GDP growth rate at a constant prices. We are already shown that V-shaped recovery curve. V-shaped recovery curve means this is decreasing, this is increasing. What is the increasing factors? What are the decreasing factors? Increasing factors. A government consumption. It is nothing but the national infrastructural pipeline. National infrastructural pipeline means that will expenditure on, that is construction, buildings, highways, hospitals, etc. That is government consumption. Increases that consumption leads to GDP growth rate increases. Positive net exports. Positive net exports. Why positive net exports? Exports are decreased 5.8%, imports are decreased 11.3%, whereas decrease in imports are greater than the decrease in exports. So that leads to positive exports. These both are leads to increase in GDP growth rate at constant prices. Decrease in factors, that is private investment and private consumption. Due to COVID, most of the private people or most of our population loses their jobs. So their investment increases, their expenditure is also increasing. The that leads to decrease in GDP growth rate. These are the decreasing factors. These are the increasing factors. Whereas financial year 2020-21 is having the current account surplus. Current account surplus, which increases 2%. Which increases 2%. That is after 17-18. After 17 years. Sorry, after 17 years. Whereas before years we have current account deficit. We are having the current account deficit. But during this 2020-21, we are having the current account surplus, that is 2% after 17 years. We have already studied that GDP growth rate at constant prices regarding all these three sectors. Total of these three sectors. Now I will explain individually regarding agriculture sector, industry sector and service sector. Agriculture sector, gross value added product at basic prices, that is in percentage. That is 5.9% is increase in there 2017-18. In case of 2018-19, 2.4% increase is there. 19-20, 4% increase is there. This is 100 units. This is that is 104 units. That during COVID also agricultural growth rate GVA increases, because most of the agriculture people are farmers are living in rural areas. Rural areas does not affected with the COVID. So agricultural GDP growth rate increases, whereas industrial growth rate and service sector growth rate decreases, because most of the these are industries or service sector are in the urban areas. Urban areas are well affected with COVID. So industry growth rate decreases, service growth rate decreases. In the case of the urban areas, most of the people lose their jobs. They are working from homes. They are getting low salaries. Very much affected by, that is COVID. Increase in agriculture growth rate leads to increase in GDP growth rate at constant prices in percentage. Whereas this is increasing factor. GDP growth rate increasing factor. Very much affected sectors, hit hardest sectors, contact based services, massage centers. Our education system is also comes under, that is contact based service. Our whereas main concept is in this COVID is maintaining the social distance. So we are not preferring this contact based services. Manufacturing sector, that means manufacturing articles or things. This is related to industry sector. This is also very much affected. Construction service, people are no available of money, people are in losses, so they do not come to invest in construction. FDI and FPI increases, foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment increases, whereas foreign people invested in India, that comes under foreign direct investment, whereas foreign people invested here in the stock markets, that comes under foreign portfolio investment. Both are increases. This is useful to increase our GDP growth rate at constant prices, whereas CPI inflation increases. Two types of inflation is there. That is, two types of price indexes are there: wholesale price index and consumer price index. Consumer price index inflation is increases to 4.62% and food inflation increases to 7.89%. That is during October. Government taking measures to reduce our food inflation. Recorded high monthly collections. GST means Good Service Tax. GST collections are increases, high monthly collections, that is 1.15 lakh crores. This is also useful to increase our GDP growth rate at constant prices. Forex reserves increased. That is, suppose we have taken RBI. Suppose we have taken RBI. Forex reserves are increased in the form of the dollars. Money is in the form of the dollars are increased. Whereas consumer price index increases. That is, in case of 2019-20, 4.6, estimated is 6.6% increases. Forex reserve-wise, 424 to, that is, this is increases 411.9 to 475. That means almost 64 US billion dollars increases. This is a good sign. Forex reserves are increased 64 US billion dollars. Merchandise imports increased 39.7%. Merchandise exports increased 21.2 increase. That means increment in the imports, decrease in imports more than the decrease in exports. That leads to strong service exports. We have already know about normal imports and normal exports. Those are also decreased, whereas merchandise means manufacturing articles and things. Those are also decreases. That means merchandise decrease in merchandise imports more than decrease in merchandise exports. That leads to strong service exports. Suppose we have taken total service exports, 49% are from the, that is, software sector only. This is a good sign. Our current account surplus is increases to 3.1%. Current account surplus increases to 3.1 percentage. This is the current account surplus that increases to 3.1 percentage. External debts, that is ratio to GDP, increases. External debts ratio to GDP increases. Two types of the debts are there: long-term debts, short-term debts. We are mostly following that. We are mostly taking long-term debts. Long-term debts. Long-term debts means we have to repay the actual amount after long time. If we repay the that is interest, that is sufficient. Suppose sometimes long-term debt is useful to increase the profit. Suppose we have taken 100 rupees from taken as a long-term debt. We have invested, we got 106 rupees. That means 6 rupees profit. That is in some cases only. That is not in all cases. That means external debts is increases. That is 20.6% to 21.6% from March to September. V-shaped recovery is possible due to power demand. V-shaped recovery is possible due to power demand, e-way bills, GST collection, steel consumption. Power demand leads to that is industry sector. After second quarter, that is industry somewhat increasing. Industry sector somewhat good condition. So that leads to V-shaped recovery. E-way bills means suppose we are transporting agricultural commodities from one place to another place, we will pay the amount that is in check post or anything check post in online, that is in the form of receipts, that is in online, that comes under e-way bills. GST collection, I have already explained. Monthly recorded highest GST collection. This is also useful to increase V-shaped recovery. During COVID also steel consumption is more, which leads to V-shaped recovery. Vaccines, regarding medicines or vaccines, our country is leading country in vaccine. India is leading supplier of vaccine, whereas 10 lakh vaccines within the 6 days. Two vaccines are we have released, mainly those are Serum Institute of India, that is also called as World Vaccine Hub, that is released Covishield, whereas Bharat Institute of Biotech that released Covaxin. Not only we are producing, we are supplying to neighboring country. That means India is leading supplier of vaccine, whereas Serum Institute of India, that is which is located in Pune, is treated as World Vaccine Hub. We are not only producing, we are supplying to other countries, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. This is a good sign. Foreign direct investment inflows increases. We already studied. FPI, foreign portfolio inflows increases. That is April to October, that is from $14.8 billion to $27.5 billion from 1920 to 2021. Whereas foreign portfolio investments inflows also increases. That is from 1920 April-December 2021. That is $12.3 billion to $28.5 billion. Current expense, current payments decreases, current receipts decreases. That is private persons payments means their expenditure. Receipts means their revenue. That is, people's revenue increases, people's expenditure decreases due to COVID. India's merchandise trade deficit decreases. India's merchandise trade deficit decreases. That is from $125 billion in 1920, that is to $57.5 billion, that is 2020-21, in the month of April to December. Petroleum oil lubricants. Petroleum oil lubricants imports is increased. Sorry, imports are decreased. We are importing petroleum oil lubricants, that is POL, that is decreased, whereas we are importing raw material, we are exporting products, that is in the form of petrol, in the form of kerosene, in the form of diesel. That means exports are decreased. That leads to negative export performance. Non-POL, non-petroleum oil lubricants. That is, export performance is increased. Under this, our high recorded exports in case of agriculture, drugs and minerals. We have already studied that agriculture is having the positive GDP growth rate. Drugs and pharma is also, India is leading in drugs and pharma. Merchandise imports decreases. We already studied, that is 29.1%. That is from 2019 to 2020, $364 billion to $258 billion. Trade deficit decreases with China. Trade deficit means we are importing. That is, trade deficit decreases. Before COVID, we are importing from China, but that trade deficit decreases in case of China. Trade surplus increases with USA. We are exporting to USA. Before COVID, we are largest trading partner. China is the largest trading partner of India. But now USA is the largest trading partner of our country, that is India. Service sector exports increased. I have already explained. 49% of the total service exports. 49% is from that is software service exports. Net private transfer receipts, remittances are also decreased, that is 6.7%, that is $35.8 billion. Remittances means who is, suppose Indian is there now, who is living in the foreign, invested in India, invested here, that comes under inward remittances. Inward remittances are decreased. Outward remittances means where is the foreign people lived here in India, he invested in, that is foreign, that comes under outward remittances. Export promotion increases by the following factors. Export promotion increases. PLI, production incentives. Suppose production is increases, our exports are also increases. RODTEP, remission on duties of transported exported products. Remission on duties of transported exported products. This is the export promotion measure. Increase in logistic infrastructure, increase in digital initiatives. This 4 leads to increase in exports. expansion of the monetary policy. I have already explained. That is decreases in repo rates and that is interest rates. That is 115 base points since March 2020. Gross non-farmed assets. Gross non-performed assets. GNPA decreases. Gross non-performed assets. Suppose we have to repay the loan within the time. We have not repaid, that comes under gross NPA, non-performed asset. That person is known as defaulter. This GNPA decreases from March to September. That is 8.21 percentage to 7.49 percentage. Nifty Sensex recorded the high values in January. Nifty Sensex Nifty is relates to, that is National Stock Exchange. This is related to Bombay Stock Exchange. Both the values are recorded both recorded high values in January because foreign portfolio increases. FPI inflows are increases. Foreign portfolio investments are increased. Insolvency and bankruptcy by scheduled commercial banks. Insolvency and bankruptcy by scheduled commercial banks. Suppose these are in, this bank got losses. This bank got losses. So this is unable to repay the loan, but recovery is 45%. We are expecting 100% recovery, but the recovery is 45%. Gold price increases. During COVID period, most of the people invested on gold. So gold prices increases, whereas edible oil imports are also increases. Edible oil imports are also increases. Edible oil prices and price fluctuations are also increases. We are importing mostly edible oil, we are importing from Indonesia, Malaysia, etc. Sustainable development goals. Sustainable development goal. We have to obtain the sustainability before 2030. Before 2030 year by United Nations. India, this is National Action Plan on Climate Change. National Action Plan on Climate Change under adaptation and mitigation. We have to obtain the sustainable development. That means we have to follow the environment protection measures or environment safety measures. Environment protection measures, environment safety measures. By following this environment protection, we have to develop our economy. This is the main goal of sustainable development goal. This means COP means that is conference related to this environmental studies or environmental protection or safety. Conferences related to that environmental safety. Conference on party is postponed due to 26 COP 26. Conference of parties 26 is postponed due to COVID. Green bonds. Green bonds. For environment protection, we are using some infrastructure, or that bonds relates to, that is environmental protection infrastructure bonds. That bonds is called green bonds. Environment pollution is there because we are using carbon compounds. Carbon compounds leads to gases. Greenhouse gases are emission of gases and pollution, environment pollution occurs. That means those are carbon compounds releases carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide or sulfur dioxide gases like that. So we have to follow the safety measures, safety environment. That means we have to use the renewable energy sources other than coal like that. That means copper compounds. We will go for that is solar, wind, etc. Solar, that is International Solar Alliance. International Solar Alliance. Under this, two are there: World Solar Bank, one sun, one world, one grid. World Solar Bank, one sun, one world, and one grid. This is environmental safety measure. Gross capital formation, that is during 2013-14, 17.7% is there. 15-16, 14.7% is there. That is decreased. Whereas from 2016 to 18-19, that is increased 16.4%. So increase, decrease, that means zigzag is there. Decrease, again increase, again decrease. Whereas but 2018-19 during COVID period, gross capital formation is less value. That is 16.4%. India's food grain production. India's food grain production is increased. We got that is positive growth rate in the case of agriculture sector because of bumper food production. That is, India's food grain production is increased very much. That is 2,285 million tons to 298 million tons. Because most of the people are living in, that is agriculture people are living in, that is rural areas. Rural areas are not affected with COVID. 285 million tons to 298. That means almost 13 million tons are increased. Agricultural credit. Credit is given for agricultural operations purpose. That increases from 2019-20 to 2021. 1920, that is almost 14 crores are invested. Target is we have to invest during the year 2020-21, that is 15 lakhs crores. November 2020, we have invested 10 lakh crores. November 20, we have invested 10 lakh crores. Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Pradhan Mantri Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Under this scheme, Kisan credits are given. Under this scheme, Kisan credit cards are given. This is almost similar to our credit cards. Up to the some limit, they will give the money. They will credit the money in that credit cards. It is useful to invest in agriculture. This is leads to mainly given to poor farmers. 1.5 crores are given to dairy farmers, whereas 44,673 lakhs credit cards to fisheries and fish farming. 4.04 lakhs credit cards under processing in banks. 4.04 lakhs credit cards under processing in banks. PMFBY, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. This is a crop insurance scheme. At the time, each year 5.5 crores. Each year 5.5 crores farmers are registered under this scheme. PM Kisan scheme. PM Kisan scheme. 18,000 crores are given under this scheme. 9 crore families are benefited. PM Kisan scheme 6,000 per year they have given, that is for agricultural purpose. 3 installments, that is 2,000 rupees. This is the central scheme. This is almost similar to Raitu Bharosa scheme, whereas Raitu Bharosa scheme is a state scheme. PM Kisan is a central scheme. Fish production is recorded high values. All time high values. Fish production is high value, that is recorded high value, that is 14.6 billion metric tons during 1920, during 2019-20. It is a good sign. Food processing developed during last 5 years. Food processing means, suppose we are getting tomato juice from tomatoes, that is food processing. It is developed compared with agricultural growth rate and manufacturing growth rates, whereas it is 9.9%. Agriculture is having only 3.12%. Manufacturing sector is having 8.25%. PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. That is free of cost. Free of cost food grains are releasing under, that is NFSA, National Food Security Act. 80.96 crore beneficiaries are identified. Under this National Food Security Act, 80.96 crores beneficiaries are identified. 2 lakh metric tons are food grains are released. Under this scheme, 75,000 crores are invested. 75,000 crores are invested. Easy of doing business. Easy of doing business. That means this leads to increase in world infrastructure and world business, world infrastructure. Whereas in case of easy of doing business, India is 63rd place in 2020, whereas that is 77 in 2009. So easy of doing business, our business increases 77 ranks to 63 ranks. India's space sector improved. India's space sector improved. We are inviting, that is private players also, that is Pixel Lab. During 2019-20, $1.8 billion are invested for space sector. Human Development Index. Human Development Index means not only based on income, whereas that is education, health is also taken priorities. During 2019, total 189 countries are there. This is the India is the 131 country. Among 189 countries, it got place 131 country as a 131 country during 2019. Personal capital income increases. Sorry, per capita income increases. Per capita income increases. This is nothing but the PCI means gross national income by, that is gross national income by total population. Total population. Then we will get per capita income. That is increases from $6,427 to $6,681. 2008 to 2019. 2018 to 2019. Life expectancy at birth increases. Life expectancy at birth increases. 69.4 years. 69.4 years in case of 2019. That increases to 69.7 69.7 years during 2020. Labor performance ratio. Labor performance ratio, that is decreases. Low level of women participation ratio we have observed. Most of the women are used for domestic purpose only. Pradhana Mantri Garib Kalyan package. Pradhana Mantri Garib Kalyan package. Under this scheme, that is old age pensions given to old persons. Pensions are given to old age people. That is 1,000 rupees per month. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Under this scheme, that is poor farmers, poor families or poor persons, that is women beneficiaries are identified. That is given they opened the accounts with zero balance. That women beneficiaries are open the accounts with zero balance. 500 is credited for every year. That is comes under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. 20.64 crores are invested under this scheme. That is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. For this purpose, women people are benefited. That is almost 8 crores. 8 crores gas connections are given to that woman, that is women beneficiaries, poor women beneficiaries. Within 3 months, 8 crores gas connection given to poor women people. 8 crores gas connections are given to poor women people within 3 months. Self-help groups. 63 are identified. 63 are registered. Given almost, that is loan increased from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. 6.85 crore households are benefited. 6.85 crore households are benefited. MGNREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. This is Right to Work or Food for Work program. This is Right to Work program or Food for Work program. Under this scheme, that is wages are increased. Wages are increased from 182 to 202. That is 20 rupees are increased. 182 to 201. 2. That is almost 20 rupees are increased. Thank you. If you like this video, please share and subscribe. Don't forget to comment also. Thank you.